Hey guys, Nick Salles here with a short clip just kind of explaining one of my favorite arm saddle feeds. So what problem does this arm saddle feed solve? And fairly often what we see with the shoulder crunch entry, the traditional entry into the Choi bar or arm saddle, is that the opponent has to be fairly close. They have to be initiating some sort of outside passing, or they just have to be connected to your lower body in some way. So what I struggled with for a while was connecting to the arm saddle from more of a mid-range. So what we did was, when we troubleshooted the position, we tried to apply concepts that we were aware of from the top position and see how we can apply to the bottom position. So this is a fairly common tactic that I think a lot of grapplers employ whenever they're troubleshooting. A lot of concepts are universal, so a good way for you to start kind of being your own coach and getting the hang of troubleshooting things on your own is just taking concepts that you're already familiar with in a different position or in a flipped position and see how it applies in the new position. So we're going to look at some clips of old ADCC footage of some arm saddle feeds from close proximity. Right? We have a shoulder crunch here, so there's so many offensive options from here, but basically whenever you're able to get a gable grip or a butterfly grip around your opponent's arm like this, you're going to have options to shoot into the arm saddle if you're able to win the battle of this leg over the head position. So, there you go. He was able to push the head, offset the head to the side with his knee, and that gave him space to pummel his leg over the top, shooting into that arm saddle position. Beautiful. Same thing. It looks like Craig has a shoulder crunch. Not quite an arm saddle, but able to connect to the back. So as you can see, the traditional arm saddle feed requires your opponent to be connected to you. So what can we do when our opponent is maybe patty cakey, meaning that they're not really committed to that grip, their arm is kind of floating around, or in the transition that our opponent maybe reaches for us? So the feed we're going to look at is very similar to what people call the row drag. I know this technique as the bump bypass. This is something that I saw a lot of grapplers use, Jason Rao included, but I think I saw Dante Leone use it first, even though he might have learned it from Jason Rao, and we just kind of named it the bump by before I was aware of the name row drag. So as you can see, the opponent on bottom has a fully locked out frame. So this isn't really close quarters, right? The person on top definitely has a nice tight passing position, but there's still a lot of space between the top player and the bottom player. So in order to get to a chest-to-chest position or a deeper passing position, the person on top can elect to put in a shallow underhook, so basically cupping the tricep. And what moves the arm into a kinked position or into a bent position is the cross hand. So from here, the top player is explaining what the near side arm is doing. And then notice how the cross hand guides the wrist over and pushes the arm into an underhook position. So this is fairly different from like how you would traditionally be taught, like how to pummel that underhook in. This is actually a position where you're allowing your opponent to frame, and you're rendering their frame into an underhook by placing a wedge and moving the wrist over to the other side, traversing your arm into an underhook. So this was actually one of the concepts when we were troubleshooting the arm saddle from mid-range that we applied with success, and it kind of just stuck. Alright guys, so let's look at a clip of me doing this in competition now. So I kind of fast forward to the part where I'm already in K-guard, and so we're here, and first thing I do, so the first feed I try is a closer range feed. So notice that my opponent is framing my body, and his arm is kind of bent in the way that you could look to attack the arm saddle. So let's go back a little bit. So what I do is I first go for a cross lat post, and I turn that into like an arm drag feed into the arm saddle. So what that does is right there. So see how my cross lat post becomes a arm drag grip? So what that allows us to do is it allows us to wedge that space between the arm and the rib cage to then pummel our underhook and use that to leverage the arm saddle. The problem with this is, as we'll see in just a second, is that the opponent is able to just straighten their arm and frame us, right? So boom, I try to feed into the arm saddle, and right there, they're able to straighten their arm and pull their arm out. Okay, so from there, there's another attempt, and what I like to do is a little different. So now the opponent has successfully pushed themselves out of the close range and into the mid-range. Okay, the arm is straight. So how could we arm saddle an arm that isn't in the kinked position, right? Isn't in a bent fashion, facilitating our underhook? Well, this is where the concept comes in handy. Remember this shallow underhook? We place that hand wedge behind the tricep, and then the cross hand is actually gonna bump the arm into a bent shape. So think of like someone who's reaching for you. As we strike the tricep, we can then flip the arm into a bent configuration as long as these two things are happening simultaneously. Okay, so you don't want to be slow on the cross hand. You want to almost like wedge that elbow in place and then push the arm to the other side of your shoulder. And let's see what happens. So boom, I push the arm into a bent shape. And the thing I did really well this time was that as soon as I stuffed the arm, my body position changed. So this is something that requires good timing, of course, but as soon as you have that arm in the pocket, you want to almost lift your hips up and invert with the leg. So you want to make sure that you're punching that leg in as soon as you can. And then a very common reaction, right, is your opponent's going to jump over. Just make sure that you're also accommodating that roll so that you can get the break on the armbar, right? So the break you see there is something that you would employ against someone who's like trying to do like a reverse hitchhiker escape. So you just kind of foot on foot behind the shoulder blade, behind the head, and you point your knees opposite direction of the break. So yeah, guys, I just want to show you guys a cool arm saddle feed that works even when your opponent isn't that close, and kind of giving you tips on how to think about jiu-jitsu whenever you're troubleshooting. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just have to take a technique or a concept that you've learned in one position and see how it could apply in the other position, right? So something that we tell our students over at Movement Art a lot is that passing is just playing guard right side up, or playing guard is just passing upside down. Yeah, let me know what you think. Comment down below if this video helps you and if you want more videos of this format. Also, make sure to suggest whatever videos you want us to cover, whatever techniques or concepts you want us to cover. You can comment suggestions down below as well. But yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you on the next one.